Hey, welcome to the Erie Music History Podcast. I'm Chip Shell. Hey, today I have in my studio here one of the fabulous Leftovers Orchestra. So if you listen to the end of every episode, I always tell you about the monthly music night that I host to raise money for the Second Harvest Food Bank. And the house band is the fabulous Leftovers Orchestra, which is the extra part of the name now. And my guest today is one of the two keyboardists for the band. So welcome, Chuck Leone.
How you doing?
Glad to have you here. So before we talk about bands like Anacrusis and Silverlight and Mr. Gone and all those other cool bands, I always like to go back because I've done some research and I find these weird tidbits in the newspaper. And so here's what I found about you. Chuck, 1966, you're a baseball player. You're on the Mill Creek J.A. Peterson Waste Paper
That's right.
League champions.
Wow, you did some digging.
And your coach, Bub Heinz, right?
Right.
All
exactly.
right. Cool. And so you played baseball 2 or 3 years later in 69. You're at J.S. Wilson Middle School. You're in a variety show called Monty's Miracle. What the heck was that?
Grief.
You have no idea?
It might have been a show, talent show.
Yeah, that's probably
something like that. It could have been.
Were you?
I was probably accompanying on piano.
Okay, so that's what I was going to get to is, so pull that right up closer. So you learned to play just piano or keyboard, or were you like a Denny Fabrizi with accordion? Or
No, I started on piano.
Okay.
It's funny when I think about how I started. I want to say like 1960 or 61, just like between first and second grade, I had taken ill and I was in the hospital for a while.
Oh, okay.
And when I got out of the hospital, I wasn't supposed to be doing a lot of running around and
Sure.
and
all the things that a little kid wants to do.
Yeah,
right.
So sometime in September, when I started back at school again, I came home and there's a piano in the living room.
And your folks didn't play or anything?
No,
Okay.
no. And I said, "What's with the piano? You're starting lessons on Saturday."
And do you have siblings that play or nothing? Okay.
No. So,
And you had not been like, I really want to learn to play piano. They were just,
the only thing I can think of as a child, you start reminiscing and looking back. My mother's mother was really into music. Big
Okay.
time. And she passed away the month that I was born. And when the family kind of like, do you want this? Do you want that? Well, my mother took all the records
okay.
and record player and all the stuff, and it was up in our attic.
Yeah.
And I would just sit for hours and listen to, it went from anywhere from Montevante to the Andrews Sisters singing spot. I mean, she had a wide variety of music.
That's wild.
And I would just sit up there and listen to the music. So maybe they thought, well, this kid is really into music. And then,
So you were doing that before the piano thing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, got it. All right.
I started on piano.
Did you take home lessons?
Yes,
or what?
yes. My first teacher was Vincent Savelli.
Okay.
Part of the Savelli family in town. I think his brother was the head of the band at Prep.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
But anyway, he taught piano on the weekends. He came to the house.
Okay.
And I took from him for several years until he became principal at one of the elementary schools because he worked for McSchools.
Ah, okay.
And he couldn't do the Saturday driving around anymore.
Okay.
So he recommended Gibby. Now, Gibby
Porsche.
Porsche.
All right. Male, female?
Male.
Okay.
Male. And I really like Gibby. He's the one that kind of taught me how to use fake books because he played out.
Books?
Yes. The unreal books are the real books.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
Right.
We
Yeah.
call them fake books.
Yeah.
And anyway, but because all that's on there are chord patterns and a melody line,
Yeah.
and you have to kind of figure out
everything else.
Right.
Gotcha.
So Vincent, my first teacher, I don't think he played any gigs and stuff like that. He just taught piano.
Okay.
But Gibby was a working musician, plus he taught music in the Erie School District.
Oh, okay.
So he was kind of doing what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So it was a different type of piano teaching.
Right.
It went a different direction.
And he was in what type of bands, like at the time?
He played in a trio, and he played popular music and jazz.
He did. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I didn't know. Oh, he's not the Italian guy. I'm thinking.
Vincent
Savelli. Yeah.
Savelli.
Right. Okay.
I don't know if Vincent played jazz.
Yeah. Some of those guys, go to the restaurants and they, walk around and play and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But okay. All right.
Yeah. But anyway, that's I started my lessons and continued on from there. And
did you take them in school too?
No. Private lessons.
All private.
And
okay.
what was interesting is I only could practice after 5 o'clock. because we lived on the second floor in our house where I grew up.
Oh.
And there was a dentist's office on the one side and a doctor's office on the other.
Okay.
So playing the piano just went through the whole place.
Yeah, right.
So I wasn't allowed to practice it. I had to wait till after 5 o'clock.
Wow. You've always been a Mill Creek guy, or?
Yeah.
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 Because you went to McDowell, right? Graduated 72, right?
Yes.
And okay. And so throughout all those years, throughout Monty's Miracle, and all that stuff.
Oh, where did you take that up?
I don't know where. I mean, sometimes I don't even know how I find these things, But you're really in 72 at McDowell, and I've mentioned this a bunch of times, and I apologize for people that listen over and over, but the musicians that were in that school at the time, you're talking about Paul Gall, the gymnasium's named after his dad, Keith Vasheko, Steve McConnell, all you guys were 71, 72, 73. I think, who am I missing? He just passed away last year. Durf's friend.
Not Bob Sadowski.
No, in New York. Oh my God.
Ed Pouton.
Ed Pouton. He was around that time period too, right?
Yes, he was. He graduated in the same class that I did.
Oh, he did.
Matter of fact, we did I think our senior assembly now, we played a tune.
Okay.
And I played with that.
So you've been playing for a while by the time, you're in high school. I've been playing since you were a little kid and everything. Yeah. So is the first thing that you get into organized, is it this band I've keep hearing about, The Wall? I don't know anything about The Wall. Yeah. I ran into Tom Stone at the Leftovers gig, and he was like, you got to ask Chuck about The Wall.
Yeah, The Wall. Okay. How I got into playing in bands, it was a pal of mine that we went to school with in elementary school, named Danny Pernice.
Danny Pernice.
Danny got a Fender Mustang and a Vibra-Champ amp.
Okay.
And and I'd go over to his house, and he'd bang around a little bit on the guitar and that. And I had gone to my cousin's house, family visits and that. My cousin Warren Leone, drummer.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that makes sense.
He had already started a band with Mike Miller, and that was Saltabe.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The Beatles backwards.
I kind of got the bug for playing in a band by going to my cousin's house because I used to practice in the basement.
Is he a little older, or?
Yeah, he's. I think he's 2 years older than me.
Okay, all right. So you saw what was going on.
Yeah. So I begged my parents for a combo organ, because I played piano.
Oh.
It's not like you can have a piano. Please hand me that piano.
Right. What's a combo organ? Is it?
It's a transistorized, like a Farfisa, just single keyboard,
not full size keys.
No.
Okay. All right.
No. They were quite like a B3 back then was like buying half a house.
I would think, yeah.
They're very expensive.
Yeah, they're huge. Yeah. Right.
So anyway, I got a combo organ.
Okay.
And me and Danny Pernice would, play a little bit in that. And Dan calls me up and says, my cousin Lee Valamont is in a band called The Shadow of Time.
Yeah, I've heard of.
And they're looking for a keyboard player. So I don't know who contacted who, but I talked to Lee Valamont and went to the Shadow of Time's rehearsal and got the keyboard gig.
Who else was in this band? Because I've heard this band or heard this name before.
Dave Shantz was the lead singer.
Okay.
Tom Snook played.
That's why I've heard of it. Yeah.
Played rhythm and harmony backup.
Okay.
Bruce Wiley on bass.
Oh, geez.
And Tom Stone on drums. And
Tom Stone on
keyboards.
Okay. So.
And Lee Valamont, of course, on guitar.
And. Yeah, right. Okay, so that's one that I missed. So what are you in high school?
Ninth grade.
Ninth grade.
I'm in ninth grade.
So is this a YCO thing? Do you end up playing?
We played a lot of after basketball and football dances in the South Gym at
really?
McDowell.
Yeah.
Huh. Kind of started cutting our teeth playing out doing those.
So they did
Played YCO.
Okay.
Gigs that you did when you were in high school.
Yeah. I mean, even when I went to McDowell, they were not doing those. Here's a band after the music or after the basketball game. Yeah. So that's interesting that they did it.
So the band name changed from Shadow of Time, TYME.
Oh, TYME, of course.
Of course, as the 60s. Into The Wall.
Okay.
That's where that started.
The same
guys.
Same guys.
Just changed the name to The Wall. It's supposed to be like The Wall of Sound. You know,
Okay.
but we were the Wall.
The Shadow of Time is a pretty cool name.
It is.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, because those are the days of the psychedelic noblemen,
Yeah.
all that stuff. Yeah.
And what were you playing at the time? What type of
Tunes?
music? Yeah.
Oh, we were playing Steppenwolf. Dave Shantz had an incredible voice, and he was a really good entertainer.
And he was a McDowell guy, too.
He was McDowell.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think what other tunes we had a pretty broad list of things.
But it was current stuff.
It was current
stuff. And was it psychedelic stuff? Was it, or just...
some of it was. We
Yeah.
played a lot. I know we played a lot of Creedence.
You did? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
played a lot of Creedence, some Beatles, but popular music for that time.
Okay. Because I always think of you with that one picture with all those keyboards, and I think of you as like a prog rock guy, Obviously, you can play that,
Yeah.
but it obviously wasn't that
Yeah.
at the time,
Yeah.
You grew up to
Yes.
have all those keyboards.
Yes. Yeah, that time. If you needed a string sound, you got to buy this box. If you need this keyboard, that's why.
That's why they were all
the
there.
multiple keyboards, piano's a piano. I mean, today, everything's I got
right.
all that just in one box.
Were you ever a B3 guy or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still have. It's actually an A. A, B, and C's
Okay.
are basically all the same sounding. It's just the cabinets that they're in.
Oh, okay. All right.
So the A was more of like a home cabinet.
And this is the time of the John Novellos of the world, the Tim Popotniks of the world that are out playing. I mean, were those guys that, they were a little older than you, probably?
Yeah. Most everybody was older than me.
Yeah.
Because at that time at McDowell, there weren't too many keyboard players.
Right.
And keyboard players that had equipment too.
Yeah.
So,
but did you know of those guys, or did you learn of them eventually as you began to playing out?
Yes, I learned of those.
That's
in fact, I can remember starting a conversation with Timmy Popotnik when Raven played at the old Hullabaloo.
Yeah.
In McClellan.
Yeah.
That was my first conversation I had with him.
That's cool. All right. So the Wall is just the Shadow of Time, and you continue to do the same things?
Yes.
Like throughout high school, I guess, right?
Yeah. And David pulled a low number for the draft.
Oh, is that what happened to him?
Yeah. And he decided to enlist because if you enlisted, you could maybe ask where to go.
Okay. All right.
So that was at the height of the field.
Right.
He enlisted. We needed a lead singer.
Okay.
And I don't know how Bob Arlett, where the connection was. Bob Arlett joined to replace David.
And David never came back?
David he did his time in Ethiopia.
Yeah.
That's where he was stationed.
Okay.
And he came back to the States after he
Okay, because I know he has passed since.
Yes.
But I just didn't know if it was during the war or anything like that. Okay, so that then becomes the evolution of Anacrusis?
Yes, that's the evolution of Anacrusis, because then I believe Lee was going to be going to everybody except me was graduating and moving on to college.
Okay, all right.
And Lee was going, I believe, to business college.
Okay.
And I can't remember if we got Keith first or Paul. I think we might have gotten Paul first.
Right. So Keith Vasheko and Paul Gall.
Yeah,
right.
And then that becomes Anacrusis.
Okay. And why? I've heard of Anacrusis. What was it different? How was it different than
band?
Yeah, than the Wall.
Well,
because you had Tom Stone on drums still, and Bob Arlett singing now, right? And Bob eventually plays with ATV and everything.
Right.
Eventually, Jack Bernard joins the band as a bass player after Paul leaves, right?
Yeah, that was like Anacrusis too. And in fact, David, when he got back from Ethiopia, he sang with us for a little while.
Oh, he did?
He and Bob.
So you guys were playing out.
Yes.
This was beyond Wyco stuff now.
This is pretty much everybody's out of school.
Okay.
Except me, I'm still going to school
for
a couple more years. But we were playing Behrend. We were playing, what's the place out in Wesleyville?
The fire hall there?
Yeah.
Brookside?
Yeah. We're playing jobs like that. We got a lot of college jobs. I can remember playing for Teal College for a party.
Okay.
And Edinburgh, stuff like that.
And it was,
that's
was there
Anacrusis still.
Different type of music?
As soon as we got Paul and Keith, we started taking on more complicated tunes. That's when we started, doing Yes tunes.
Right.
Genesis.
Okay.
I'm not too sure about Genesis, but definitely yes. But we were playing some music that was
more difficult, complex.
Complex.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. You haven't graduated yet, so it's not even, it's 71 probably. Yeah. Okay. I didn't realize Anacrusis, and so the band sticks around for like 4 years, I think, right? Yeah. Do you stay with them the whole time?
Yeah, I do. What happens is Paul wanted to go out west with a couple friends.
Okay.
And he stopped to see his sister Sue was playing a circuit of clubs as a single guitar player.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he visited Sue when he was out there, and he continued out to California.
Okay.
With a couple of friends. And when he left, it kind of started disintegrating because Keith decided he wanted to go finish his degree at Barron.
Oh, okay.
All
right.
So eventually we had Anacrusis 2 when they back with Jack Bernard on bass.
Right.
And it was Tom Stone on drums. And me and...
Dean Gleason, or whatever name you want to call him by, Jack Bernard. Yeah. He wrote this about the band. He said, this prog rock band featured covers by Yes, ELP, CSN, Elton John, Moody Blues, etc. And then he said exactly what you just said. In 1974, Paul Gall took off for California, leaving the band in need of a bass player. Enter yours truly, Jack Bernard. Yeah. And second vocalist, Dave Shantz, who had been in the most famous of all 70s McDowell bands, The Wall, with Chuck and Tom. Okay. So you stick around. Did you go to college then? Or?
No, I right out of high school, I had worked my summer jobs at Durst Organ Supply. Now, a lot of people don't realize this.
Is it down? Was it down?
Well,
no,
it used to be
downtown.
on 32nd and Poplar.
No, I got no idea.
Yeah, because there was Durst Trucking.
Oh, okay.
And the organ company
I know exactly
was
where.
attached.
Yeah.
32nd and Hazel.
Yep.
And there.
Yeah.
So I'd worked there summers. When I graduated from high school, I went right to work.
Okay.
And I started because I was apprenticing as a pipe organ voicer.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. What were you doing at the organ place?
Oh, the first thing you do is when you work there, you start off with cleaning all the pipes after they're made. I mean, you get stuck with your first man in the
shit job.
Exactly, yeah. So, but after they take you through. It's good to do that because you learn all the manufacturing from a sheet of metal torn. It turns out to be an organ pipe. Okay?
So they made it all there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And so I was doing that job. I really enjoyed it. Single. I'd moved out of the house. And I got a call from Brian Fells. And Brian said, Chuck, the younger brothers have a bunch of jobs coming up with us.
Yeah, so tell us, Brian Fells, his name has been mentioned before. Was he in the Younger Brothers? What was the relation?
Yeah, he was in the Younger Brothers. And also was Angela, but they weren't married. They were dating at that time.
That's right. And he was a guitar player.
Yes,
right. So the two of them go on to be in the Moonlighters, or just her?
I don't believe she was in the Moonlighters.
What's the band I'm thinking of that she was in? Angela?
Well, it turned into Angel Fire.
Angel Fire, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right. Younger Brothers, Angel Fire.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes, gotcha. Okay, yeah. So anyway, Brian calls in and says,
hey. I need a keyboard player. We've got maybe 2 or 3 months at Lombardo's on 18th and...
Right. So that's when they would schedule you for 2 months.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I played with them, and then they said they're going to go on the road. And I said, I can't because I've got a day job. I can't leave.
Oh, right.
So I pulled out, and that band was, of course, there's Paul
Yocklin.
And Vinny
right.
Frazzini.
Right.
Me, Brian Fells, and Mark Feinstein.
Oh, yeah.
The photographer.
Yeah.
He was playing drums.
That's right. I always forget he's a drummer.
Yeah, he played drums.
Yeah.
And Jack Bernard was on bass.
Really?
Yeah. That was that.
They went through a bunch of iterations.
There were a lot of iterations of the Younger Brothers.
Okay.
It was a learning experience.
And I don't mean to interrupt, but at this point, did you play for the Cows for a while?
Well, that's coming up.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, after my stint with the Younger Brothers, and I was just working, maybe playing a job here or there, I get a phone call from Dick Buckle.
Okay.
And Denny Fabrizi, their keyboard player, had gotten in a motorcycle accident.
Oh, okay.
And so they asked me to fill in for him.
Right.
So that's what I did.
And Denny was just on the episode 2 before this one, and he talked about that. Weren't you in a motorcycle accident around the same time?
A week before we were scheduled to get married.
Yeah, you had to delay it, right? In 76 or something like that?
Yeah, in 76.
Yeah. Okay, but we haven't got there yet. You haven't even met Suzanne yet.
Yeah. I met Suzanne between vacations 71, 72.
Okay, all right.
Because she and I were both going to be seniors. She went to General McLean.
I was going to say that might be another reason why you didn't want to leave town, go on the road. Right. Okay, all right. So what happens then? You play with the Younger Brothers for what? 2 months?
Yeah, it was months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was months. because they had played on the road quite a bit off and on. And I sort of knew that it was going to happen. But I don't think Jack went, and I don't think I went, but I think maybe Weinstein. I think he stayed with them.
Oh, did he? Okay. Huh.
So, so anyway, they
a call from
needed me that night, because then he got in an accident and they didn't have a keyboard player.
Oh, wow.
So they said, just come to the job, use his keyboards. We just need somebody to.
And what version of the Cows are we talking about? Angelo's gone, right? He's
right.
Not the drummer.
Right. So you've got, the drummer was in flux because Grholski, Grut,
yeah,
had injured himself.
Oh, right.
And he couldn't play.
Okay.
So they were without a drummer. So while I was playing with them, Toon.
Jeff Toon.
Yeah. Claire.
Yeah.
Was filling in for Grut.
Okay.
And we had me, Durf, Keith, and who else was it? Tom and I. We got a call from Joe Salarino's uncle.
Okay.
And
Joe's not in the band yet,
Joe's
obviously.
not in the band
because
yet.
Joe's like in high school at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
So this is when I first meet Joe. That's when Johnny Rivers was going to play at the Fieldhouse.
Right.
And they needed a warm-up act. So that was us.
Who? The Cows?
No. It was a conglomeration. It was, like I said, it was me, Durf, Joe Salarino on drums, Keith Fischeckel on guitar, Durf on bass. I don't even know if we had a name because it was just a one-nighter.
Yeah, because obviously I wrote the book about the Erie County Fieldhouse concerts, and I did not know that bit.
Well, you'll have to look up the Johnny Rivers concert.
I have information on it, but I don't think there's anything listed as an opening act.
Yeah, I don't even know if they're
All right, well that's
which was kind of, you can imagine the crowd that wanted to see Johnny Rivers.
Yeah, right.
And out comes
a random group of dudes.
We opened up with Heart of the Sunrise. Yes. And it was like,
oh my God!
We get done with a scene. I mean, with a song, and it was like a scene from Spinal Tap. Everybody's
crickets. Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah. So that's how I met Joe, and somehow either Joe or Bill Arnold and I introduced Joey to the band. We needed a drummer.
Was Bill Arnold in the band already?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
you
it was
asked what the
Dickie
lineup was. So
and
it was me, Dick Buckle, Bill Arnold, Joe Salarino,
and Bob Berger was in the band.
Yeah, that was that rendition, because what had happened before I joined the band because of Denny's accident.
Yeah.
Ron and Dennis Guzik had gone to California.
That's right.
To be with
Orange Colored Sky. Right.
So they came back to Erie, and they wanted to place Denny and Ron back in the band. So Bill and I we put something together after that.
Right. Okay.
But that's funny. That's how Joe Salarino got introduced.
I mean, you've just went through a bunch of people that have been on this podcast, but are, long time Erie musicians, and some of the best, really, Bill Arnold, people say is one of the best guitarists he's still playing today down in Florida and everything.
My wife and I visited Pat.
Right.
Pam.
In Florida.
We go down there, and he's still working.
Yeah, Bob Berger, obviously still playing, doing great, and
Bill plays wonderful steel guitar.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
He picked it up on his own.
Okay.
And he's nice solos.
Was that version of the Cows, like, did that band ever evolve? Like, did they always play the same type of stuff?
Pretty much. I learned their repertoire.
Yeah, right.
There was they liked a lot of Joe Walsh, Bachman Turner.
Okay.
A lot of dance tunes, because that's what we were. We were a dance band.
Right. They were a fun band.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I've always heard. So Joey is in high school playing in the Cows.
He's like, 14 or something?
Right. I've heard the story where they heard him playing in a garage somewhere, and they're like, who's that? We need a drummer. And excuse me. So you play with them for how long?
I don't think it was quite a year.
Okay. All right.
It might have been close to it, but we're playing Bemis Point. Trying to think.
I know what. Oh my God, the Surf Club.
The Surf Club.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So we played Surf Club.
Did you ever play the Cowshed?
No, I wasn't in the band.
Okay, I didn't know if they
Stable Pit and Pub.
Right.
The Cowshed. I wasn't part of that. I was.
Yeah. Right.
But
like back then, I always asked the same question. There's been a lot of different places that you've played over the years and everything. Was there somewhere back then, like even when you were playing with the Cows, that you were like, I love playing here? Like,
Well, but believe it or not, I sort of like Lombardo's.
Okay.
I mean, it was a long shoebox.
And where was it again?
18th and Sassafras.
18th and Sass. So what is there now? I don't even know. Right. But it was one of those long with a tin roof type of Erie bars.
Yeah, one of those Erie bars.
Yeah. Okay. And they had bands all the time.
All the time.
Yeah. Was it an Italian restaurant?
No, it was pretty much a bar.
It was just a bar. Okay. All right. And what made it special? Did they have a stage or on the floor?
Well, they had there was a stage on one end.
Okay.
And a pretty good sized dance floor.
Okay.
And pool table,
Right. Standard bar.
The fight table, as I used to call it. You want to fight, put a pool table in. So, you get to, because we sat kind of high up.
Right.
The stage, you could look down and see.
Okay. All right.
But and we had a good crowd. I can remember when Wednesday night was over the hump night. Wednesday, you had people from General Telephone coming in, and just like all the businesses.
You're playing 10 to 2.
You were playing 10 to 2, and these people would get up and go to work Thursday morning. I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
But Wednesday was a big night.
And were you still working at the organ company?
Yeah, I was. And then towards the end of the stint with the Cows, I had quit working.
Okay. All right.
And I was concentrating most.
Okay.
Playing most.
So you're not married yet.
No.
Still 76 comes and all that. But even before that, you stick around with Durf, Bill Arnold, Steve Borkowski, and Rick Cass, and do the Captain Jack thing for a little bit, right?
Yeah. That was, we didn't have a name. Somebody just threw that out there.
Yeah, right.
I mean, we didn't know who we were that night.
At the Gaslight Lounge.
The Gaslight, yeah.
That was in the Liberty Plaza.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the Gaslight was relatively new around that time because I was looking at some stuff. It had only been around for about 2 years.
Right.
Jack Todd Trio played there a lot.
Exactly. And
so you play there just once or twice as Captain Jack, or what happens?
Yeah, maybe once or twice as Captain Jack, and then it was Silverlight.
And then it evolved into Silverlight.
Yeah.
But Steve was not in the band, Steve Borkowski.
No. Matter of fact, it was funny how I met Rick Cass.
Rick Cass is the drummer in the Fabulous Leftovers today, so you guys have been playing together for 40 years.
I get a phone call from Keith Fischecko. He goes, Chuck, what are you doing tonight? I said, not much. He goes, you want to play a gig? And I said, well, what's going on? Well, there's a band. I forgot the name of the band or why they couldn't play at Rainbow Gardens, but something happened where the band couldn't play. So this is the afternoon of whatever this festivity is.
I hear these stories from you and Durf, and it just makes me nervous.
Who do you who else is playing? He goes, well, I talked to Durf. Durf says he can do it.
Of course, Durf can do it,
And he goes, I know a fellow named Rick Cass. And then, of course, that was the first time I met Rick Cass.
And no idea what you're going to play.
Exactly. So
Keith is organizing this.
Basically what we have is, a
little piece of paper.
And like, you know this? Yeah. What keys it?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're making a list of what we all can do.
This is at Rainbow Gardens.
Rainbow Gardens.
Was it one of those dances that they would have back then?
Yeah. And I don't know if it was like, Hammett used to have stuff down there, and St. Vincent's, they'd have big,
Oh, yeah.
things like that.
Right.
So that's what it was. And we got through the gig, and it was fine, But I had played with Rick Cass, and I'm going, I like the way
this guy's a metronome.
I said, I love the way this guy plays.
Absolutely.
So when Bill and I, were looking to put a band together, I talked to Durf. I said, do you know Rick Cass? We wake him up like at 2 o'clock in the morning or something. We're banging on his door because he's going on the road the next day to play with. Durf knows the name of the. But anyway, he decided to come with us.
Wow.
So
okay.
So at that time, you're right. It was Steve Borkowski, Rick Cass, Bill, me, Durf, and then of course we're backing up Ron Sedgy too.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you guys were the backing band for Ron because he was on the podcast too, and he talked about that.
Right.
Yeah, so you're playing lounges and everything with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wearing the outfits?
Oh, yeah, the outfits. Outfits. Yeah.
Well, what was I've seen some pictures of me, but I always ask these questions. Where do you get the outfits? Like, do people make them for you?
Believe it or not, we used to go to, of all places, in the mall at Silverman's.
Absolutely.
And they had a lot of sizes and a lot of the same, So
Same look.
Yeah, so that's what we did.
That's funny.
Yeah. Yep.
Well,
Yeah,
I suspect that Susanna's thrown away all those, and you don't have any more of those.
they are gone.
Yeah.
They're gone.
Okay, so Silverlight, you played the circuit throughout the 70s for a couple of years, maybe 2 years. You split up. Bill moves to California. Obviously, eventually he comes back in 2000. You play a reunion gig in 2012. That was cool. I mean, guys wearing the Silverlight shirts and everything. Then Bill moves again, this time to Florida. But it remains the four of you: Bill, Rick Cass, Durf, and you.
Right.
I mean, that's super cool that you stayed together for so long. And again, same type of music that you've been playing all along. I mean, no ELP or Yes, right?
No.
Right. Okay. All right. And we should point out, like, throughout all of this, you're a vocalist too. So you're taking lead vocals on some songs too, and backup. Right. Okay. Who was was there, because everybody but Rick sings, right?
Me, Durf, and Bill.
Yeah.
We would trade off.
Oh, you would just trade off.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And I always like to ask this too, because these guys are the unsung heroes. Did you have a sound man? Did you have a light crew?
No, we didn't.
Nothing.
We were self-contained.
Okay.
In that.
All right.
We weren't a real loud band,
Right.
Because you're playing a lot of clubs and stuff like that. And
Okay.
You've got to stay within a range that's comfortable.
Right.
So we didn't get screaming loud. And
So you mentioned Ron Sedgy, and you're rehearsing at the Sam Sedgy and Sons shop, right?
Right.
I mean, and that's what, Ron's dad's?
Ron's brother.
Brother, okay. You play Lord Bethwick, which is Liberty or
The
West Erie Plaza?
West Erie Plaza.
West Erie Plaza?
Yeah.
Holiday Inn, both of those?
Holiday Inn, north and south.
Spartan Inn on 90?
Oh, the Spartan Inn. Oh, yes.
These were like big lounge
Yeah.
gigs back then. The Wooden Horse Lounge in the Spartan Inn.
Yeah.
And so, let's see, I have you playing We Love Erie Days.
Yep.
Had to be one of the first ones.
Yes, I think it was the first one.
Was it really?
Yeah.
And did you play as Silverlight or with Ron?
We played as Silverlight.
Okay. All right. That had to be cool.
Yeah, it was. It was neat. Matter of fact, I want to say that my cousin's husband, Bob Newmeyer, the manager of both Holiday Inns.
Okay.
I think that he started that We Love the first one, or got, kind of like
really?
bubbling in that.
Where was the stage? On the dock?
Yeah, we played on the
top
yeah
of the
just under the sign.
yeah, under the pubic dock sign. Yeah, got it. I was just telling someone that story today. I said they would steal the L. So you guys stick around for a while. Nightfall, is that the next thing that happens? Is that just a one-time thing for the Summer Festival of the Arts?
Nightfall, that's when John Carroll joined the band.
Okay, because I knew you had more keyboards. Yeah.
And
so John has left playing with Dave and Macmillan in life. Okay, all right.
He joins us. We become Nightfall because Bill's not around.
Right, Bill's left. Right.
And what was interesting about that band, there was no guitar player. It was all keyboards.
Oh, that's what I was going to
player.
ask.
Yeah.
Oh, so you replaced Bill with another keyboard player.
Well, between John and I, we covered some of the.
Right.
But it was interesting because we could do tunes like Gino Vanelli and, with all the keyboards and the
Popular
Cubase
at the
and stuff
time.
like that. Yeah, popular at that time, yeah.
And so was that just you and John and Durf and Rick?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But then Robin Bjork joins the band.
Oh, okay. So a powerhouse female singer.
Yes.
Had to be one of her first bands.
Yeah, I think it was, if not her second.
Okay.
But that was a good band also. But we were playing a lot of the places that Silverlight used to play.
Okay.
So Holiday Inn, like in Clarion. And,
so you traveled a little bit.
Yeah. In fact, when we played with Bill as Silverlight, we played some places right down in the Pittsburgh in the Triangle.
Oh, really?
We played the Red Door, and we played some nice places down there too.
So we're in the late 70s now.
Yeah,
You're married, no kids yet.
Right? I joined Wave after Nightfall.
After Nightfall. That's what I wondered, because I knew you had a stint in Wave.
Yeah.
Like early 80s or late 70s?
It was late 70s because that's when Suzanne and I were getting married.
Okay.
It was during that time.
All right.
And that's when I had my motorcycle accident.
Did you get injured that you couldn't play for a while?
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had but at the same time, Bill Miller, who played in
The Snowmen and
Snowman
Wave.
and Wave,
Right.
he was in an accident driving the band's truck.
Oh.
I don't know if a car pulled in front of him or hit him or whatever, but he ends up breaking his arm.
But he's a bass player.
He's a bass player. So he borrows Durf Hopseger's Micromoog and teaches himself how to play the bass parts on Micromoog. So there's me with my foot up on a chair,
you've got a cast or whatever.
Yeah, and there's Bill Miller with his sling.
Playing that.
Yeah, we look like...
and this is in Wave.
This is in Wave.
And so obviously Wave is another one of those bands that goes through a lot of iterations, but you've got at least 3 Tysons in the band, or there were 4 at the time, or just
there were 3 at the time.
Okay, and then so Tony Stefanelli's not playing bass, Bill's playing bass on It's You and him, and then who else am I missing? Who's on guitar?
Mike Dombrowski.
Mike Dombrowski. Okay, all right, he's been there a while.
Yeah.
You're doing same clubs, Peninsula Inn.
Right. That
type of stuff. I mean, that's one of the places that comes, the evolution of the Mark becomes the Peninsula Inn, as a hot spot in town. Yeah. How was that? I mean, now you're in your second band with a female singer in it, Did it change the dynamic at all? I mean, was it more dancey?
I wouldn't say it's more dancey. We did play a lot of dance material.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what Wave was.
Right, right.
So the repertoire that we had with Nightfall with Robin, we played
very similar.
The Heart, and Pat Benatar.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So anyway, that was more powerful female vocal.
Right.
A Wave had a real sweet harmony sound.
Right.
Whole, families sing together. Their voices there's this blend.
Yep. Yeah.
But so anyway, I'm healed from my accident, and
are you a fill-in in Wave, or
no? I was probably one of the first people that they replaced, because I'm trying to think. I think I replaced the original keyboard player, and I can't remember what his name was, because when Tim Tyson started this whole thing, it was just him and a keyboard player, and they played up at Peak and Peak.
Correct, right.
And I can't remember what the keyboard player's name is.
Right.
But anyway, I think I took his place.
Okay,
I was the first.
Yeah.
So I'm playing with Wave, and they decide that there was a management company that wanted to take the road.
Right. I was going to say, this is before them going on the road.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I really didn't feel like going on the road.
Yeah.
Because I'd done it with Silverlight, and Nightfall. I knew what the road was all about. And
wasn't the story that you told me, was it you and Durf? Did you have some run-in with the law, like late at night in a hotel room or something?
That was either in Canton, Ohio, or it was in Ohio. Durf, his nickname is Hard Drive, because he just is
he remembers
everything.
remembers
stuff. But he probably has the details better. But yes, there was an altercation. There was a guy that I think it was
at the gig, right?
At the gig, it was like a ladies' night, and one of the ladies was a wife, I think. And this guy was pretty drunk, and he was bothering me,
right?
And I wasn't gonna put up with it anymore, and I just shut my stuff off and walked off the job.
Okay.
Because I knew this was apparently whatever altercation was going on in the club ended up out into the parking lot, and there were shots fired.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we go up to our rooms, and it's like about, in the morning or something.
Right.
And it's
knock on the door.
They want us to ID the fellow that was
starting it all. Okay. All right.
So,
and you're tuned up at this point.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
It's like, and I'd never been in one of these before. It was like a clown car of people.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Well, half of them are in the bag.
Yeah, right. Yeah. They brought the paddy wagon for everybody.
Exactly.
Point out the guy that started the whole thing. Yep. Yeah, great.
Yeah. So, that was an evening.
That's a memorable night.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. A lot different than playing in Wave, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, back when we were talking about Anacrusis, we had got booked at Castaways in Geneva on the Lake.
Oh, yeah. That was a popular place.
We were booked to warm up Tiny Tim. Tiptoe Through the Tulips, Tiny Tim.
Wow.
He had just gotten married to Miss Kitty on the Johnny Carson show.
Right.
This is weeks after that.
Okay.
So he's in the green room downstairs, and somebody says, "You want to go meet Tiny Tim?" I said, well, I think Tom Stone and I, we may have walked downstairs.
You're like, absolutely, I do.
Yeah. So anyway, and so Miss Vicky is flittering around, doing her thing, and he's Tiny Tim is with he's got a piano player arranger that's kind of like the captain of the ship.
Yeah, right.
And since they got there late, they had to change the set. And what I was impressed is the piano player unfolds the score and says, "We're stopping
We're gonna
here,
start here,
and stop here, and go here." And Tiny Tim goes, "Okay, good." And what's the key here? And he was with it. And I was beginning to wonder if this was just a ruse.
Yeah, for sure.
Because he acted so silly.
Weird on stage and everything, right?
But he was like that. But finding out later on different podcasts that he was friends with the guys from, he knew Paul Simon growing up in New York.
Oh.
And Flo and Eddie.
Okay, yeah.
And so there were all these people that hung together when they were like 17, 18, 19 years old. He knew all these people. I thought that was quite interesting.
And he had talent, clearly.
Oh, yeah. In fact, that old music that he used to play, he played it with other fellas too.
Oh, okay.
They all kind of like, that 1930s and 40s.
Right. That's
music.
what it is. Yeah.
So anyway, got to meet Tiny Tim. That was.
And there's a guy that died doing what he loved. I mean, he died on stage playing.
But when they said that we were warming up Tiny Tim.
Did you ever have any other encounters where you guys were opening? You did Johnny Rivers, you did Tiny Tim, anything else over the years? I mean,
more when we get into Powerglide and that.
Okay.
We did a lot more.
All right. So we're in the 80s now, and you leave Wave to play with Britain, or no?
I leave Wave to play with the Cows again. Oh. But it was a different iteration.
Still around.
All right. It was me, Ron, Dick, and Joe, 4-piece.
Because Ron and Dick are back. Ron and Dennis are back.
Yeah, but Dennis isn't with the Cows.
Okay, all right.
So it's, like I said, it's me, Ron, Dick, and Joe.
Okay, good.
4-piece. And we played a lot of places around Illinois.
Oh.
The agent, whoever that Dennis worked with.
Okay.
And I think Ron continued the same one.
So you were back on the road.
Back on the road.
Yeah.
Again. Yeah, and this was right after I was.
Okay, all right.
And that was interesting because we had no bass player, so we were using keyboard bass.
Yep.
And a lot of the same material.
Okay. All right.
And
had the Cows ever stopped?
I don't think so.
No.
I was just wondering that myself. Did they ever stop?
I've interviewed so many people that, I was in the Cows. I was in the Cows. Oh yeah. And their reunions are like all these people that come out and play. So all right.
So we're doing that, and we get back to Erie, and I think Ron and Joe decide to do a duo.
Oh.
And I don't know if this is when Dick goes down to Florida, but Dick goes down to Florida, and Paul Gall's down there.
Right.
And I'm playing with, at that time, that's where I'm getting confused with my timeline here, because I was playing with Nightfall when I gave my notice that I'd be joining Powerglide.
Okay. And I don't have Powerglide. You got me on that one.
Okay.
All right.
Powerglide was when Dick and Paul went down to Florida.
Okay.
They were doing, I think they were doing a trio. There was a fellow from down in Tampa.
Yeah.
And
Dickie's told me about that.
Dick and Paul were backing him up.
Yeah.
And Paul, I don't know how he gets hooked up with Powerglide, if he answers an ad or runs into a musician, but he ends up joining Powerglide Tampa.
Okay.
And
so it started in Tampa.
Yeah.
Okay.
And at that time, I don't know what the keyboard player's name was, replaced, but it was, of course, Paul Gall, Pete Zins on guitar, and Stuart Covington on drums.
Okay.
And they had been established in Tampa quite a long time.
Okay, all right.
So Paul's playing with them, and they play up and down the East Coast, and they had a job up in Canada. And when they were coming across the line in Canada, the keyboard player was found to have something illegal.
Got it. All right.
So the security at the
border
had them empty that whole truck completely.
Oh, yeah.
Unscrew all the cabinets.
Oh, no.
Took the door panels off the doors.
Wow.
Cavity search.
Yeah. Great.
So needless to say,
he was out of the band. Yeah.
I get a phone call when they get
if there's a cavity search involved, you're out.
So anyway, they asked me if I want to play in Powerglide.
But they're traveling up and down the East Coast.
They're So this Suzanne and I went down to visit Paul and Colleen when Paul married, and just to check out the scene.
Yeah.
Before I committed, but I did commit to him.
Okay. How long did that last? Okay.
79 to the end of 80.
All right.
But the band was they were writing. They had originals. Stuart had a nice little recording studio. So at the band house was the studio, and the roadies lived there, and the sound man. Excuse me. So I joined them, and that was quite a lot of work.
Yeah, it sounds
I
like
had a lot of tunes that I had really never played. A lot more rock.
Okay.
A lot more
and originals.
And originals.
Yeah.
And originals. And that was one of the main reasons I joined, because they were trying to get a label interested.
Oh, okay.
And
so you were pursuing that dream.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And that's when Stuart, the drummer, his girlfriend at the time owned a salon, and one day in walks Kansas to get their hair cut because they're playing in Tampa.
Okay.
At Coliseum or something. And so she just jokingly says, "Well, my boyfriend's in a band. He's playing at such a place tonight." But now this was before I was in the band.
Okay. Yeah.
So Stuart told me. So after the concert, they come and they see.
Wow.
They see see Powerglide, and trying to think violin player.
Robbie. Wasn't it Robbie?
Robbie.
Yeah.
And,
passed away. Yeah.
He passed away,
Yep.
but he was kind of fond of the band.
Huh.
And we would get, hey, we can get you a gig at Raggedy Ann's in Atlanta.
Okay.
It's a showcase room. So we knew him, Robbie Steinhardt.
That's it. Perfect. Yeah.
So, excuse me. They would throw us crumbs every once in a while, because some of them moved to Tampa.
Really?
They were actually there.
Oh, okay.
And when Stuart he grew up in Jacksonville.
Okay.
And he went to school with Leonard Skinner. They all went to the same school in Jacksonville.
Right.
They all knew each other. And also the drummer.
Took lessons from Mr. Skinner.
Yeah. And Leinard Skynard.
Yeah.
And they knew Molly Hatchet because they were playing a place a lot called Levitas in Jacksonville. And Stuart knew the drummer. And in fact, when Stuart took us up to Jacksonville, when we had a job to play there, he introduced a lot of his. And I was at one of his friend's house, and he had a room like this that I'm in. There was equipment and stuff, and there's a Wurlitzer electric piano that looked kind of funky. The legs are kind of like wobbly on it and that,
Yeah.
And I said, that works? And he goes, yeah, it still works. And I'm playing, and he goes, you know where that is from? And I said, he goes, that was on the plane that crashed.
Oh, my God.
That Wurlitzer piano. It actually, it was all loose and sloppy and floppy, but wow.
Shit.
Yeah. So he was close to those people.
Yeah.
But anyway, Powerglide, what we would do is we would start in the winter, down south on the coast. And by the time summer rolled around, you got the Carolinas, and we're up at Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah. So this was a lot of traveling.
Yes, of Vermont, Barrie, Vermont. And we were up and down the coast.
Wow.
A lot. And
was Suzanne coming with you?
Well, yes. When we moved to Florida, Suzanne came down. And she got she's a registered nurse, so she was able to get a job just about anywhere. They always need a nurse. So she was doing that, and she would come along the road when she had days off.
Right. Wow.
But when gas really started getting expensive, and we had the band vehicle, we had the 23-foot truck,
right?
We had another vehicle. You're feeding gas into those, and Florida is just like.
Yeah, it's like a few states together. Yeah,
exactly.
It's so long.
Everything is far away from each other.
Yeah, right.
So when we were going up to New England and playing, we noticed that these cities are close together. I said, geez,
This is easy.
So we were getting known. Matter of fact, I think is it WCOZ in Boston?
I think so. Yeah.
WCOZ would put out an album every year of local talent.
Yeah. Right.
And we just threw some songs out there, and I believe they put 2 of our tunes on the album.
Cool.
Powerglide. And technically we weren't.
Yeah. Right.
So our name was getting out there, and more and more. And the band decided to move to Boston from Tampa.
Okay.
And
this is when? 80s? Okay.
Early 80s.
Yeah.
And
wow.
I'm just getting I'm tiring out, I think.
Okay.
It's hard.
It's hitting you. Yeah.
It's hard.
Right. Yeah.
And I had written I circled a date in the calendar. We weren't past a certain point.
I'm done. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay.
So with great hesitation.
And did they go on to?
Yes, they replaced me with, believe it or not,
another Erie guy.
Yeah, he took Mike because Paul played with Mike in Reel to Reel, I believe.
Okay, yeah, right.
So he knew Mike. And he took my place. I came back and I decided to finish my associates in electronics.
Oh, okay.
And I was just picking up side gigs.
Right. You were working at Mace at this time?
No.
Not yet.
I was, believe it or not, while I was going to school, I had a day job. I was working at a frame shop.
Like you frame it?
Yeah, like a U-frame.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And just to make some.
Yeah.
And after that, I got a job. My day job was working for Dictograph along security systems.
Yeah, yeah.
And a good friend of mine that had worked for years, Paul Mazza, calls Chuck in November. We've got a lot of inventory in the shop that's not on the floor. We don't have enough techs. So what I would do is I would work during the day for Dictograph, and then I would go over to Mace Electronics, which is only a few blocks away.
Yeah.
I believe it was on Asbury.
Okay. The original one.
The warehouse and the service shop.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And you'd go work on that stuff?
Yeah, from about 7 o'clock to maybe 8 or 9, I'd work on stuff, knock them out.
Yeah.
So Mace offers me a full-time job, so I'm not with Dictograph anymore. Now I'm full-time at Mace, but I had Paul Mazza to throw my name in the hat.
Is he related to John?
They're brothers.
They are? Okay, so John and Keith had the studio together.
Studio together.
Right. Okay, all right.
So
and he's been on the
Yeah, so
podcast.
I'm not, like I said, I'm not playing much. And then I get a phone call from Dave Shantz. He wants to start up a band again.
Okay. And you haven't played with him since?
Oh, since Anacrusis 2.
Right.
Yeah.
High school.
Yeah, and plus I was out of, I was out of the state,
Yeah, right. You were gone.
Yeah, I was
right.
And it was Dave. Scott Campbell.
Right.
Steve Nick.
Right.
Mike
Bass,
Lurdy.
Right. Mike's on drums.
And I think that.
Dave, Scott, yeah. And eventually Pat Ross comes in later and takes over for Mike.
Right.
Yeah, right.
And eventually.
And that band's called Britain, Briton.
Britain.
Yeah.
It's called Britain.
Yeah.
And
everybody had mustaches.
Yeah, that's funny. You should say that. I know. I looked at that picture and going, everybody's got caterpillars on their lips.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. But that was a fun band.
Yeah.
And that was a good band. Yeah.
Yeah, those are good players.
Yeah,
for sure. Was that the last band you were in with Dave Shantz?
Yes, it was.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. And did you take a break for a while? Because
when I was working in that, establishing myself, because there comes a point where you've got to decide, well, where are you going to put all your eggs in which basket?
Yeah.
And it's always good to have something to fall back on. And I was always repairing stuff ever since I was a kid, electronics and that. So I needed a piece of paper that said, Chuck Leone, so I can get a job somewhere.
Well, so Mace goes bankrupt in 87, and you and one of the other employees start your own Erie Electronics service.
Yeah, David Morgani.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And you do that for a while, right?
Right. And I answer an ad to Mill Creek Township School District. They needed a...
that's what I wondered.
They needed a computer technician, and I was authorized Apple technician.
Ah, okay.
So...
and that was it. You were done. That was the last job you had, right?
Yeah, until I retired.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, like 29 and some.
That's great.
But there were some bands after that.
Abstract Cats?
No.
Were you in that band?
No. What happens is after Britain kind of dissolves, I get a phone call from Paul. Paul says,
Paul Gall?
Yes, I'm coming home.
All right.
And he came back to Erie, and we called up Keith. And that was it.
Mr. Gone.
Mr. Gone. And it was like falling off a log.
Yeah.
Because we played together so long as kids. It's like, let's do this tune. Bang. I mean, it was a lot of fun.
You guys were great back then. I actually met you. Oh. You don't know that. I was playing with Scott in a band, and we played some event that you guys were playing at the Shriners out in the field in a stage that was out there.
Did we?
And,
now, was Steve in the band at the time, or were we using the drum computer?
No, Steve hadn't joined the band yet. So, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, you used a drum machine in a band in the early 90s. That had to be cutting edge.
Steve was going to...
Steve McConnell, we're talking about.
Yeah, was going to med school and that.
Oh, right.
And so he couldn't fly back
and
forth
okay.
to jobs.
Right.
I mean, he finally got done with that.
And that's when
in the meantime, we had the Elysis. We called it Al.
Yeah,
the drummer.
Yeah, I remember those drum machines.
So we were using software and an Elysis drum machine. I'll tell you what, I didn't like the drum machine, but I'll tell you one thing it did. Boy, did it make it tight.
Sure, I bet.
Because it makes no mistakes.
Right. Yeah. There's no vamping. There's no nothing. Yeah. But you guys were doing Crosby, Stills, and Nash, a lot of harmony-based stuff, because all three of them you could sing.
Doing harmony.
Yeah, take your time.
So,
and you guys played. You played Christmas night, 1992, at the King's Rook.
Right.
You played festivals. You played the Highway Tavern. Was the Highway Tavern on?
Highway Tavern is out towards before you get to Conneaut on Route 20, I believe.
Okay, all right. Scully's, popular place
Scully's,
back
that was a
then.
mainstay.
Yep. The band, like you said, evolves from a 3-piece to a 4-piece, and then you eventually break up, but then you get back together. You reunite in 2005 for a little bit, right? And play a gig or so, or?
I think, yeah. Keith, stop. I'm trying to solve kind of.
Yeah, I know.
Everything's blurring into each other.
Well, I know for a fact that in 98, you open up for Foreigner at the Warner.
Yeah, that's a story.
How was that? Yeah, tell me the story.
So I'm at the library at Asbury Elementary fixing a computer or something, and my phone goes off, and I see it's Keith. And I'm going, it's got to be call me at work.
Yeah.
What's up? Well, no, actually, it was Steve that called me. That's right.
Okay.
Steve called me. He said the warm-up band for Foreigner had a run-in with their management company, a blow-up, and they're not going to show up to warm up Foreigner. And I'm trying to think who managed that time. He's retired.
Casey
now.
Wells.
Casey Wells used to come and see us play.
Sure. Yeah.
At Fireside, because that's out in his neighborhood.
Yeah,
and he'd
right.
come and see us whenever we were playing there. He'd come and see us.
Yeah.
So he called up Steve. Steve called up the band. Keith didn't want to do it because he goes, I don't think that we have enough original music. He said, let's just do it. Let's just have fun, you know. And he finally agreed to do it.
Did you have to play all original music?
No, but he would have liked to.
Yeah, right.
He would have liked to have done that.
Sure,
you know,
right.
If we would have had more time, but this is the afternoon of.
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
So we say yes, and we had to be down there in the afternoon, like about 4 o'clock, like that. So we hightailed it down there, do a sound check.
And this is 98, so Lou Graham's still in the band.
He had just got back from his surgery.
From his brain surgery.
Right. This is his first tour after his
I was
brain
at
surgery.
that gig. Yeah, he was really good. I was at that gig.
He
now
was.
You say that.
And we were talking to him backstage, and he goes, "I'm really having a hard time with remembering lyrics."
I bet. Yeah.
And that, you know, and he was a tough guy. I mean,
but it was the original lineup
yeah,
still.
it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So we got to meet
Dennis
most of
Elliott.
them.
I mean, everybody but Ian, what's his name? He had passed away, I think. He played in King Crimson, too. Ian, start with an M. Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
And they were cool?
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, when we had to wait till after the drummer got his sound check, you know.
Okay.
And you've been at those sound checks, you know, drummer's sitting, boom, boom, boom. So, you know, it's like, oh, geez. So, you know, after a half hour of that, finally they say, hey, you guys jump on stage and we're going to do a quick check.
Right.
Now, the thing about Mr. Gone is we didn't use any amplifiers on stage.
Oh.
It was really interesting. We all had foot monitors.
Yeah.
Keith put the system together.
Sure.
He was a sound engineer, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Whatever was in the mains was coming out our monitors.
Okay, beautiful.
So if I hear too much of myself, you back off.
Right, right.
And everybody was
Cool with that.
With that. So
right.
Keith was using his virtual guitar, VG, okay, because of all the different tunings for the Crosby, Stills, and
Sure.
Nash, because they do a lot of drop tunings.
Right,
and
right.
you just press a button on the virtual guitar, and there you're there.
Yeah.
So he was electronic. I was stereo and electronic with all my keyboards.
Yeah.
Steve was using electronic drums. They were all stereo.
Okay.
And the only one that wasn't stereo was Paul, but you're playing bass. You know, no big deal.
Yeah.
So we had a real full sound. We didn't have to be loud, but it was full.
Yeah, yeah.
So we get our stuff up on stage, and the sound man had just worked with their drummer getting his, and Steve has his electronics, and he pulls up a patch and he goes, drums, you know, the sound man, and Steve just goes, and he goes, sound man goes, I want him with us.
Yeah.
it's the quickest sound check.
Yeah, I was going to say, done.
Done.
Yeah.
You know. So we did our sound check, and the sound man comes up, and he has a snake, like a 32-channel snake, and he drops it down. And then we go, plug.
Yeah, it's like
plug,
4 plugs.
Yeah. He goes, what? It's 6 channels.
Yeah.
So that's all we need.
Yeah.
Because we're running stereo.
That's wild.
Just make sure that the monitors, the side monitors are up.
Yeah.
And we'll mix it from on stage. And we were like that. I mean,
and it went well.
It went well.
I mean, you're lucky because a lot of times, you know, especially a last-minute band opening for a major act, you get screwed on the sound and things like that, you know. But that's great. Yeah,
yeah. And it sounded great. It went over really well. And
Good.
It was a really.
That's cool. Yeah,
but
that's cool to hear that they were nice too, you know. And so, all right.
But stories. When I was in Powerglide, we warmed up Steppenwolf at the Agora in Tampa. And I think John Kay had the rights to the name Steppenwolf, but it wasn't the band. John Kay was out front singing, but everybody else was filling in.
Right. players. Yeah.
The keyboard player had never been to Florida before. So we did our sound check, and they striked our equipment back, and they were going to bring their stuff forward, and it's down off the stage. And hey, Chuck, he goes, your rig is exactly like mine. I just used the Hammond, and that keyboard. He goes, to save time, we won't strike your stuff, just keep it there, and I'll just, go ahead and use it. You got to beat.
Yeah.
So we come back early evening, and I see his face. Here he went back after sound check, went outside and been down south before, and just scorched. I mean, I felt sorry for the guy.
Yeah.
But what he did was he slathered himself with this skin balm or something, for this burn.
Yeah.
So when I go up to play my set, it was just like somebody smeared butter.
Dripping. Oh, gee. All right, so what other stories? John Kay, Lou Graham, Johnny Rivers.
Yeah, some funny faces on the crowd that night.
Did you meet Johnny Rivers?
No. I think he wanted to get out there. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
I was trying to think if there's any other interesting thing.
Well, I mean, after Mr. Gone, like I always say, the podcast ends at 1990. Mr. Gone was in the 90s. You fill in for Ruby Port for a little while during a reunion. You start doing, what was the Fabulous Leftovers called before? You had a weird name when you played at Bobby's place.
Played at Bobby's, we were the Unprofessionals.
The Unprofessionals.
And then and at the bottom of the shirt it says, "We prove it every gig."
Yeah, and if you don't know what that was, I mean, I went to some of those gigs. Like it was Marty O'Connor would sit down, and you guys had no idea what was going on.
No, it was like potluck playing.
Yeah,
it's like, can you give me a key?
Yeah. And then they'd pass the hat, and literally pass the hat in a tiny little place.
Yeah,
great ambiance there, though. I mean, the greatest,
Yeah, we were playing there one night, and Mike Dombrowski was in town. I believe he was living in Florida, but he still would come up to the E. Up here. To do some work. And he was teaching locomotive, because that's what he did.
Yeah, right.
Service to these 4 Ukrainians.
Oh, okay.
Did
he bring them with him?
Yeah, he bring them to the gig. And none of them stopped smoking all night. It was one after, and it was like sitting, like right after, it was like a chimney.
Yeah,
wafting over to. I'd get home and my wife would go, your clothes got to go. I mean, you unfortunately, you'd smell like an ashtray.
Because at that point, that was one of the only bars. There weren't a lot of bars that you could smoke in, now it's super rare, but back then you still could at Bobby's place. Yeah. And
that was the one drawback that I liked, but it was great because you got to play ball.
Oh, yeah.
Because some nights it'd be me and Timmy Popotnik would too.
Oh, really? Okay. So, tiny little room,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah. Very intimate. I loved it. Yeah, and I'm glad that you guys have a place to play now and stay playing and everything. And all right, what else? Anything else on your cheat sheet?
No. I have. I had been playing off and on with the Sam Hyman band.
Oh,
after Mr. Gone.
Yeah,
and Sam called me up and said, "Hey, putting a show together. Sweet Baby James. It's a tribute band for James Taylor. Would you like to play this out?"
Yeah.
And I made him aware of what some of my limitations might be, but So started rehearsing and trying to think. The first show was down in Southern Ohio. It was Berlin, Ohio.
Okay.
I think Berlin, Ohio was in Amish area.
Yeah.
It's a lot of visitors, and there's a hotel there that has a big theater.
Okay.
That was the first show that we did as a full complement.
I didn't know you played in that band.
Yeah. It was
Dave.
Of course, Sam.
Yeah.
Dave Blates.
Right.
Sheldon.
Right.
Peterson.
Sheldon Peterson.
His wife, Katie.
Right.
Backup. And Molly, Sam's wife. Was backup vocals also.
Wait, who was the drummer?
Jim Sturdivant.
Oh, right. Jim Sturdivant.
Yeah, he's from PA.
Yep. Right.
In fact, what's funny is the first rehearsal I had with him, we were talking, and he goes, "Sam said that you played in Powerglide." He goes, "Went to Berkeley in Boston. We were playing up with him." He goes, "I used to come and watch you play."
Wow.
It's
that's
a small
crazy.
world.
Yeah.
So,
so it was called Sweet Baby James.
Sweet Baby James first, yeah, but there was somebody
already had that name?
Somebody already had it trademarked or copyrighted or whatever.
I wondered, yeah.
Yeah, so it turned into a Steamroller.
Yeah, right.
But what happens is we're playing around Philadelphia, we're playing Chicago.
And at this point, are you retired?
Yes, I'm retired.
Okay.
That'd be the only way I'd be able to.
Yeah,
to
right.
do
Yeah, that's
that.
what I wondered. Yeah.
So
you probably had just retired then.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And everything was going good. Then COVID hits.
Oh.
And a lot of these theaters closed down.
Yeah,
you couldn't
right.
play anywhere.
Right.
So Sam would do like maybe a single. The agency would, have, or maybe a trio, maybe him.
Pair him up with the woman that sings.
Right, or pair him up with the Troubadours.
The Troubadours.
That's what that show was called.
Right.
So it's taken all this time for that was
2020, 21.
Yeah, version 1.0. Now it's now it's 2.0. You've got Chris and Julie.
Right. Dave still plays with them, right?
Dave still plays.
Dave Blates and Jim's still the drummer, isn't he?
Yes, Jim's still the drummer.
Yeah.
So that iteration, like I said, it went on until COVID.
Yep. That's cool.
Because what had started happening was the jobs were getting between. Like we play one, we'd be off.
Yeah.
That's really tough to have a rehearsal and
Yeah.
Get them show worthy.
Right. Right.
So I did that, and at the same time, I was going to Bobby's. So,
Yeah.
So that's how the whole Fabulous Leftovers led into
awesome.
that.
Well, I'm glad to have you guys. I'm glad to hear you each month. It's awesome.
It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of
fun, and everybody in the band.
I bet. And you practice at Durf's?
Yeah, we practice at Durf's. Usually we get together on a Thursday. We'll figure out what the song list is going to be.
It's crazy that you and John and Durf, at least, have played, and Rick. I mean, Tim was the only one that you haven't played with in some other band.
Right, because he kind of had the party band, and also he played with Chris and Julie for quite a long time.
Right, in Tennessee Back
It's funny how that works. Like even my cousin Warren, he played in different bands. I played in different bands.
And you never played together?
No, we actually did.
Oh.
Finally, at Bobby's. He sat in with me at Bobby's place.
That's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it was nice to play. Yeah, but he and I were the only really musicians in the Leone family. Well, my cousin Patty.
Okay.
But no, it was funny. It was, of course, there's Gene Leone, the piano.
I've heard that name.
Hey, Gene.
Yeah.
So I'd always have people come up to me and say, "Are you Gene's son?" I said, "No, he's a piano player." I said, "Yeah, I've heard his name before."
Yeah.
People would come up to Gene Leone and go, "Hey, Chuck Leone, you're going to ask me that. I don't know who he is." So one night I'm playing at the Spartan Inn with Silverlight.
Yeah.
And a buddy of mine walks up to me and he goes, "Hey, I was just upstairs and I was listening to your dad play. He's pretty good." And I'm going, I said, "My dad, he can play radio, but I don't know about piano."
Yeah, right.
So I went upstairs and here was Gene Leone and we introduced
And so you finally met.
We finally met.
Nice.
And I thought that was hilarious.
That's great.
But Gene was a really sweet guy.
Well, small world. Yeah. I mean, everybody seems to know everybody, especially in, that era of music, all you guys. I've had a lot of you on and I appreciate it. Good stories. So let's wrap it up there. How's that sound?
Okay. That sounds fine.
Cool, man. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks for being on.
And thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. Good stories. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode of the Erie Music History Podcast. I want to say thanks to the JPT Foundation. They have been a financial supporter of the podcast since the beginning, and they also give us a free space to have our monthly music night on the first Tuesday of the month. It always features our great house band, the Fabulous Leftovers, as well as a lot of other local bands and musicians. But it's a lot of fun. First Tuesday of the month, totally free. Any donations go to the Second Harvest Food Bank. It is BYOB. There's a great pizza shop next door, Pasalinquas. Check that out the first Tuesday of the month. Also, make sure that you check out Jack Stevenson's Two-Man Happy Hour podcast. Basically tells you where people are playing today, where and when, and you can check that out at the number 2manhappyhour.com. All right, that's all I got for you. Thanks again for listening.